Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It's May 28th. We're out here in the garden and we're going to talk about cucumbers today. Now down here in East Texas, my cucumbers don't last all that long. This is the new batch. It's coming on. They've got a hold. I lost a few plants in there, but they're so close it doesn't matter. And we're getting ready so these can start. Hopefully they'll start about the time the others completely kill off. Now, if you're wondering, now you can see these are looking kind of pitiful. But if you're wondering what's happening to your cucumbers, we're going to go down this row and we're going to look at some cucumbers. And we're going to discuss why they look like they do. And I don't know how many we'll find today. We pick daily. We went from about a bushel a day to very few. As you can see, the vines are kind of dying. Now, when you see a cucumber, you can see how this has got a little curve to it. This isn't real bad, but this curve is caused by a pollination issue. And there's certain things that can cause it, but that's what we're going to talk about here. And we're going to find some. I know we've got some that's a lot worse than that one, like an Easter egg hunt when you get on through here. And these are some pitiful looking vines. These are just on the verge of having to come out. Now occasionally you'll find one that looks very close. It's been pollinated pretty good, but and if I wasn't looking for it, I might find one. Here's one right here. Why does my cucumber look like this? And the reason why this is because this was not pollinated properly. Yes, it's got to be pollinated so it'll stay on the vine and ripen up. But it takes multiple visits from a pollinator in order for this to be pollinated good. Now, I do have a beehive, and I have lots of pollinators come in here, but there's another issue that can happen. Part of it because these vines are getting so old and dying, they're probably not bringing the proper amount of nectar and producing the proper amount of pollen for these flowers. They look real good, and these haven't opened up. It's kind of early. They're getting on their way, but and they won't be long. Some of them's a little more open than the others, and they look good. But unless they get the proper amount of moisture up there for that nectar, they're not going to draw in pollinators to these flowers. Now, some of these cucumbers can really get extremely deformed. Some of them are nice and beautiful, like they should be. Now, this variety over here, and I know I have some down at the lower rows, but maybe I can find one up here as I come along. Now we're into the other variety. Now you can see how curved this is. And the reason this is curved is it's been pollinated on one side. It's filling out seeds here. But on this other side, it didn't get pollinated, so these seeds aren't filling out. And what it does is cause that cucumber to curl like that. And sometimes they really get to be extreme when they do that. Now, I pick them a lot smaller when they're curving like that. I'd much rather the energy go to a cucumber that's really forming good. And here's our other row. Now, this is the poinset variety, and it's doing good. It's fixing the vine, and we've got to get a trellis set up on these things ASAP. And I know that those others are going to play out. Now, these are slash more. This is more of the variety that would look like those from the market, nice green, dark green, smooth skin. A slicing cucumber. Of course, I use them. I use them to pickle too. I just don't let them get real mature because I don't want them too long for in my jar. But reason why I'm showing you this is you can see those others are about to go. Now these here will go just a little longer in their cell trays, and then they'll go out in one of those rows because we're going to have to take them out. They're just they're getting pretty pitiful. A lot of people say, well, don't plant the same thing in the same area because the bugs are already there. And so if you treat your soil there whenever you pull yours out, and I do have bugs, but it's just, I'm going to say it's a minor situation. The healthier your soil gets, the less your bugs want to come around. Now, there's certain ones like on squash and stuff that just tend to want to stay. But I've got a lot of transplants here. A lot of them need to go on out, especially these squash here, and we're going to get these out probably today. Now we're down here at the other batch, but I want to show you, like, you can see this has got that curve. It's bigger at the end. A lot of cucumbers get big at the end, and they've got this curve. Now, you might find some of these early on when you're starting out. Now, these vines are still fairly good. A lot of them are starting to get a little blight and such as that. So they're slowing down and they're playing out. These are a couple weeks behind the other ones. But a lot of times, like I say, early on, you might get some of those, but it may be, in my situation, that I plant them tight. If the vines get too thick, the bees might not find the flower. You know, they might find it once, maybe twice, but they say it has to be pollinated at least 3 times. At least 3 times. So the way, if you want to understand how this works, is bees are looking for a certain frequency. Flowers give off this certain frequency that the bees are attracted to. Now, if other bees have already been there, or I'm going to use bees as for instance, it can be any kind of pollinator. But if it's already been visited by a bee, then it doesn't emit that same frequency because it's not telling it it's got nectar. So it'll be maybe the next day, later on that day, or something that might have more nectar, and then it'll have that frequency that attracts the bees to it. And they've been finding out this in scientific studies. Well, if the bee can't get to it enough in a situation like I say when they're real tight and they can't get down in there next to them, then they won't pollinate that flower like it needs to be. So what's going to happen is those particular cucumbers that's down there that's hidden, sometimes you might find them and they're really larger than you want because they're even hidden from you. But if they can't get in there, they can't pollinate them, and they're going to go for the easiest, quickest ones, you know, because they're trying to increase their colony, bring back supplies, stuff like that. But anyway, that question comes up a lot: is why are my cucumbers looking that way? And a lot of times people ask, well, my cucumbers are blooming, but I'm not getting any fruit. Well, you could not have pollinators, or you could not have male and female flowers. Now, this flower right here, and you can see it's just connected by a stem, and it's just a flower. That is the male flower. Now, the female flower, and this is when you're going to get fruit, is it has a tiny fruit on it, and then the flower. And this is the one, it's really crucial that it gets pollen from this male flower to that. Now, you could pollinate them yourself. That's always an option. Normally, when it gets hotter, the situation is different to where you don't have the moisture up there because of the heat. Now, I always tell people that cucumbers take a lot of water. Now, you can't overwater anything, and usually they'll start yellowing or showing stuff, or you could stress them and they could start dying. It's a kind of a balance that you need to keep there. But if the ground isn't moist, then that plant, especially when it's warmer, because we've been up into the 90s already, and when it gets that moist, of course, you'll see the leaves droop down. That's not uncommon with a broadleaf plant like cucumbers or squash or any of those. But when you come out in the morning, these leaves need to be nice and perky and look like they're full of moisture, because it's been cool overnight. The sun's not been cooking on them, and they should have been able to recover. And then that way, early in the morning, whenever the bees come out, there's plenty of nectar, plenty of pollen, and they're going to want to come after these, because cucumbers are one of those that, and early on, I always have bumblebees that they just work these things like crazy, because that's one of the pollens, I guess, and nectars that they want. But so make sure that you have plenty of moisture. A lot of people say, well, there's been raining, the bees hadn't been out, and this and that. If you had a bunch of days that it's just been constantly raining, yes, the chances are they're not going to be there. But with these blooming regularly, you should get good pollination. If you're not, you're going to end up with those cucumbers that are misshapen like that, pointed at one end. You can see one over here. And of course, this vine is dying. We'll pull this off of here. This is not any good, but you can see this wasn't pollinated anyway, and it probably was due to the fact that this plant was dying. It couldn't get enough moisture up there to this fruit or the flower, and so it didn't pollinate. But I'm hoping that this answers a lot of your questions on pollination. You get a lot of information out there that is just not true information. If the person would take the time to research and not just repeat the information that one person said, and not say that a lot of this repeated isn't good information, but a lot of times, especially on situations with cucumbers, you're not getting the information that you would need to have nice, good looking fruit. But anyway, I hope this video was useful. If you want to see more content like this, of course, hit that subscribe, hit the bell, select all, and you'll get all the notifications. Give it a big thumbs up and share this video. Enjoy that gardening experience.